And hello, everybody. We are back with another episode of the Michigan Equine Network. My name is Brant Clark. I hope you guys got a cup of coffee because we're ready to have a little fun tonight. We are 5 days late of National Farriers Week, but we thought, let's make it National Farriers Month. We've got so much information for you guys that is going to be fun. We're going to have David Halleck from the Michigan State University. He's an instructor there for the Michigan State Farrier program. Martha Jones from the American Farrier Association is going to join us, along with Heather Boscheman, which she ought to be proud of me that I got her name right, and Paige Poss is all going to join us on this show. So get you guys a cup of coffee, and we'll be right back with our show.
Tom McCutcheon, and I am the owner, along with my wife Mandy, of Tom McCutcheon Reining Horses. Reining Horses is our game. We use Beamer daily here at home and at the horse shows. The overall change that we see in the horses' behavior is they're happier. The most important thing in a reining horse is their mind. And you can actually get by with a little less talent if you have a better mind. For me, that all plays into the care of the horse. If they walk out there mentally ready to play, that is a big part of the picture for us. You got to be selective on the stuff that you use. And after we started using the Beamer, I knew, immediately that it was a good product for us. I mean, I could tell right away. It's so important in helping keep them comfortable. It feels good to them, and I think that keeps them, for sure, it keeps them more in the game and keeps them mentally happier, which is super important.
And thank you to our friends at Beamers. They bring this episode to you. Hello, everybody. I'm Brant Clark, and beside me is the lovely Tammy Tyler. Tammy, we've got a lot happening today as we're going to talk about all things feet. Not stinky feet, horse feet. Well, maybe stinky feet. But give us the lineup for today's show.
Yeah, we are very excited about the talent that we have with us tonight. I have learned so much just in talking with these ladies and David Halleck. David is actually our guest presenter tonight, and he has coordinated this fantastic team for us. And we are going to talk to Martha at the American Farriers Association. They are down near Lexington, Kentucky.
Yeah. Of course, as anybody that watches our show, you know that we like to give away free stuff. And so we're going to give away stuff to anybody that comments in the comments tonight. Let me see if the comments are working, because last time the comments weren't working. Can you see that?
Yes.
Kathy Brown says hello. Hello, Luke. And Krista Couturier, she's with us. Hi, Krista. I hope your little wild pony is doing good. And I can't get them off there. Stop. There we go. And part of our giveaway, we're going to give away the Hoof book. Heather Boscheman is got this really great book, and so if you guys stay with us the entire show, we're going to give away one of those and a lot more than just that too. So it's going to be a fun show. Should we bring in our first guest?
Yes, definitely.
Let's do it. And there she is. Hi, Martha. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Brant?
Oh, we are fantastic. So this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart as a trainer, and obviously one of the most famous sayings of all time is "No hoof, no horse," right? And
Right.
You guys at the American Farriers Association are making leaps and bounds and educating people of a trade that's been around for thousands of years, but now with the breakthrough of science, we just keep learning more and more.
That's correct.
That's
correct.
Give us a rundown on what the American Farriers Association does and what your mission statement is, and what you guys are doing today.
Sure. Well, thank you for having all of us tonight. I'm really excited to be here, and especially to be talking about the AFA and all things farrier related. So the American Farriers Association is a nationwide organization. And I say nationwide with a caveat, and that caveat is actually we are also in 12 countries outside of the United States, but a very large presence both here in the United States and in Canada, somewhat in Mexico, Brazil, other countries like that. We're currently the oldest and largest association for farriers in North America. We are very proud of ourselves. Sort of the jewel in our crown is our certification program. It is the only internationally recognized standard of competency. And in fact, our farriers that become certified journeyman farriers, we have reciprocity with the Worshipful Company of Farriers over in Great Britain. So that's sort of a feather in our cap. We're very proud of it. Our certification program does exhibit a standard, again, of competency for farriers. We do believe that the horse is better served by a farrier that has gone through the program. It starts off at the certified farrier level, moves on to the certified tradesman farrier, and then the certified journeyman farrier. From there, you can do higher education. In fact, Heather with us on this call has been through the therapeutic endorsement. We also have an educator's endorsement and a forging endorsement. And again, we believe that the equine is better served but if your farrier is certified. So unfortunately or fortunately, depending on who you are and how you feel, we're not a federally regulated trade, meaning that anyone very regrettably could go buy tools and put them in a truck and call himself or herself a farrier. So we believe it's very important that wherever it is, whether it's AFA or they went to a horseshoeing school or they've mentored with a farrier or what have you, we believe it's hugely important how and where your farrier was educated. We're certainly not the only association doing it, so I'm not going to say that we're the only game in town, but I think it's very important that they can demonstrate competency.
I got in a little trouble. I got a little trouble on social media a time back because I said that that number one, you should have to be 30 years old to be a horse trainer, and you should have some sort of certification. And everybody jumped down on my back. But the truth of the matter is that as a horse trainer now, and I'm sure that farriers can speak to this as well, you don't get to see enough horses. You don't get to see enough experiences. You don't get to see different circumstances. There's so many elements that go into horse training and farrier. And I hope that on the show today that we're going to hit a few of those things, that those elements that the people that put the time in to get these certifications are gaining a wealth of knowledge from people that have been there and done that. And I hope that someday that we can do something with the training trainers. But I was fortunate enough to ride with my dad, and then I was fortunate enough to ride with really great horsemen like Robin Walker and a bunch of other ones. So yeah, I think that what you guys are doing with that certification program is not only very cool, it is a necessary for people coming up in this trade. Because let's be honest, it's not a trade that you're going to do. Well, I don't know, maybe David would say differently, but it's not a trade you're going to do until you're 70, right? Not at least not full time. So we need to educate you earlier so your body lasts longer.
That's right.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Martha, can you tell us a little bit about Brent, you kind of touched on the horse ownership part of our responsibility to help our farriers. And can you talk about how AFA reaches out to horse owners and that really awesome newsletter that you have?
Sure. I would be happy to. Thank you for bringing that up, Tammy. So we have a bi-monthly newsletter magazine goes out. It hits mailboxes for all of our members. It's 32 pages. And of course, there's AFA news and updates, right? There's no doubt about that. But there are always 4 or 5 very technical hoof-related articles that even just receiving the magazine in the mail is hugely beneficial for a horse owner member. The horse owner membership is $50 for the year. So you'll get 6 of those in your mailbox. We also have a lot of resources on our website. And, obviously the panel tonight are, David and Heather and Paige are the stars of this show. But speaking of Heather, she is also our communications chairperson at the AFA and does a tremendous job putting that newsletter together. We're very grateful for her, and in particular me and my job, but we are all very grateful for the work she puts in. So that's a huge benefit if you're looking to increase your knowledge on hoof care and what your farrier is going through and experiencing. It's a terrific resource.
talk quickly. You guys have a convention coming up here, right? That's in Reno.
Yeah, we do. We're going out west this year. So we try to spread the wealth and go to different areas of the country. And we are going out to Reno. We're very excited about it. Our convention, it's our 52nd annual convention. We've actually been around since 1971 as an association. But anyway, this is our 52nd annual convention, and it is too open to horse owners. We do have some attend, and veterinarians and obviously farriers make up the bulk of our attendees. Also, horseshoeing school students and apprentices. So it's a great event. We have lectures all week long. We host the National Forging and Horseshoeing Competition at our convention. We also have certification opportunities. You can go to convention and take your written exam or bring your shoe board. You can also sit for higher education exams. In fact, this year I know for a fact we're having exams for all 3 of those endorsements I mentioned earlier. And then, of course, we have a lot of fun. We enjoy ourselves. We have social events, and that's certainly one thing that we all do well. And so the camaraderie and the networking and just the peer-to-peer education is terrific.
Absolutely. If anybody here has a question about the AFA, or if you need something answered directly, you get to talk to the boss. Like, she's the executive director. Like, so if you have a question, you don't have to do like the 1-800 line and then talk to a computer or anything like that. Like, you can talk directly to the boss through the Facebook comments here. So if you have a question for Martha, please leave that in the comments. And man, thank you so much, Martha, for joining us tonight. And
thank you.
Educating us on. I'll give you the last word. Last word on anything that you'd like to say.
I don't. Whoa, that's a lot of pressure, Brant. I don't know the last word. I like the last word too, but no, really, it's an honor for me to be here. But again, your panel made up of our 3 farriers is tremendous, and I know all of your watchers are going to learn a lot from them. And just really want to thank you again for including me as part of it. So the AFA is happy to serve farriers.
Oh, thank you, Martha. Thanks for
Thank
being on
you,
the show.
Martha.
All right, Tammy. As she alluded to, we have a very, very educated and experienced board of farriers that are going to here to share some of their wisdom tonight. Let's, oh, there we go. There's a comment. There's Debbie Johnson Matthews says, thank you for all of the great information, Martha. So, but let's not hesitate on the giveaways here. Let's do a little fun. So,
because I already grabbed something here. This smells absolutely amazing. So Cindy Carter, they raise goats, and they are very involved at Clinton County in the 4-H program. I need to get better at this. And there is a slight delay on my camera. So this smells awesome. I wish you all could smell it. There's 9 soaps. There's a lotion. This is all made from goat's milk. They raise goats. They show goats. Absolutely fantastic, supportive family. And they're in the Langsburg area, so made here in Michigan. And their company is called Utterly Simple.
So let's put a comment in. What do you say? Let's put your let's get the names of some farriers out there. But put your farrier's name out there. And he might hate me for that. All these farriers might be calling me like, well, listen, we can't take any more phone calls. Like we cannot take any more horses. But who cares? Let's put their name in the comment, and we're gonna use our little magic spinner, and we'll pick a winner from that. So throw your farrier, who he is, how much you love him, how he's the greatest guy in the world, and he always shows up on time. Yeah, here they go. Yeah. Oh, look, here they go. There we go. Gilbert Carrillo joining us tonight. Gilbert, how are you, sir? Thanks for joining us on the show. There's my wife. There's my man, Ty Lee. Gene Munger says John Miller. All the people are just commenting on here. I got more comments than I can keep up with now. All right.
If my mom comments, we might have to take that one off.
Yes, she does. Oh, no. There's Steve Koning. I wondered if Steve Koning's name would come up there. Steve Koning's brother's fixing my truck right now. All I have the best farrier. Even calls the night before to confirm. What?
What's his name?
Yeah, no kidding. Put his name in the comments. I'm terrible about that. Like people, I just show up. They'll be like, "Oh, you're here to pick my horse up. I didn't know you were coming." Yeah, I'm one of those guys. All right, let's go. Let's pull up our comment page here on the Spacebook. And hold on one second. I gotta get to the comment page. Oh, Greg Lucas is his name. That's what she said. All right, now we got
Thank you to everybody who's watching tonight, and thank you for participating too. It's really fun to watch the comments. And also, if you have any really fun events coming up, we know it is jam-packed right now with summertime, but throw your events on the comments too. And I always learn so much from the different events that are going on here in Michigan. And it's really neat. Actually, I hear a lot about friendships that have been made and new events, and we really appreciate all of your support.
All right, let's give this thing a spin. See who the lucky winner of that care package is. Gonna stop on Ann Sherman. Ann Sherman, you won the care package, and congratulations! Thanks for being a part of our free giveaway.
Congratulations, and thank you to Cindy Carter as well from Utterly Simple Soaps and Lotions.
That's right. Please make sure you guys support her. Utterly Simple from they're in Langsburg, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So again, yeah, thank you. I have their picture right here, but you can go on our Facebook page. We did share that their card there. You can talk to Cindy and Jim and learn more about Utterly Simple. All right, we're gonna go to commercial right now, real quick, Tammy, and when we come back, we are gonna have our superstar guests with us, David Halleck, Heather Boscheman, and Paige Poss. They're going to join us. We're going to talk all things horse feet after this.
Excellent.
All right, we are ready to do this. Let's bring in our guests. Well, we can kind of see them here. Let's just go full. There we go. Hey, you're missing somebody. Did she get the cold? She got cold feet.
She'll be right back.
She'll be right back. There we go. David Halleck, thank you, sir, for joining us on the show today. I couldn't think of a guy that would be any better for this position. You're a certified journeyman farrier. You have a bunch of letters behind your name that you are going to explain to everybody. But you and I first met in Adrian. I don't know if you remember this or not. At the Showplace Farms, I had he was an 18-1 hand horse named Conrad, and I could not get his feet straight. That's how I met you originally. And you had just kind of started in your competition phase of your farrier work, which I hope you get into a little bit because that really interests me. And now you have worked your way up as now the instructor of the Michigan State University Farrier program. Give us a little bit of your background on what interests you about being a farrier and how you came to where you are now.
So I actually went to shoeing school because I wanted to own a boarding stable and know who was doing decent work and who wasn't, so I could kind of steer my clients in the right direction. And long story short, I absolutely fell in love with shoeing horses and just decided to make it a career. I went through the certification program that Martha was talking about. I did my certified exam. They didn't have the tradesmen at that time. So after that, I went towards the journeyman, which is a pretty in-depth test. There's a written exam. There's you got to make a 3/4 forward straight bar shoe to fit a pattern, and then shoe a horse all the way around with handmade shoes in 2 hours. And at that point in my career, I couldn't think of anything more daunting than taking that exam. Once I got past it, I got encouraged to go to a few more continuing education clinics and realized that that was really just the very, very small tip of the iceberg as to information that you could have, and pursued what's called an ASF through an international farrier group. And that gave me the opportunity actually to go spend, I think, 12 or 14 days in South Africa, learning about hoof care and sitting an exam over there, getting it passed. And then I ultimately pursued, excuse me, the AWCF, or Associate of the Worshipful Company of Farriers, which is based in the UK, and they're the longest standing farrier registration group in the world. So,
And also the most difficult test to pass in the world too, correct?
yeah, they've got one more exam past that, which is the fellowship. And I think there's 7 fellows in the US right now, and only maybe 40 AWCFs. And last census I heard about, there's about 70,000 practitioners in the US. So it's a pretty small group that really chases the information like that.
I want to get into some details of specific horse questions, but go ahead and put those in the comments if you have a specific horse farrier question. And granted, number one, we can't see your horse. Number two, we don't know what kind of conditions you're in. We don't know any of the history. So please don't put in there, well, my horse has a club foot, what should I do? But I want to expand a little bit to the Michigan State Farrier program that you do now. Give us a little bit of the background of that program and how that's moving forward.
Okay, so real short synopsis. MSU actually ran the first farrier school in the U.S., and it wound up getting closed down. We won't get into that, but we started it back up, I think, in 2018 in the fall, or maybe it was the fall of 17, and have had a class each year, skipping COVID year because everything shut down that year. I run either a 12-week or a 24-week program, and I won't take any more than 6 students at a time to really make sure everybody gets the hands-on and the individual time that they need for it, and try and get them to as many continuing education events while they're in school so they understand the need to keep learning once you're out. Any farrier school that you go to, I don't care if it's 2 weeks or 6 months, that's just the start. As soon as you graduate, you better go get in somebody's truck, because that's where the learning happens, is after you graduate and you are riding around and you are doing the grunt work. That is when, if you pay attention, you will actually learn a ton of information. I still do it. Once a month, I go help another farrier that flies up here to Michigan to do a group of horses. I don't do my own horses. I take my work and I work for that man for the day, just for the one day of education every month.
Yeah, we do continued education with our horse training too. And I always said, I think I was happier when I was ignorant, what I didn't know, because the more that I learn and the more the deeper we get into horses, there just seems to be another layer and another layer and another layer. And then, but you start to be able to tie those all in together. And I got to think it's kind of like that in the farrier, right? In the beginning, you're level, flat, and balanced. And then pretty soon, layers start to come back and layers start to come back and layers start. And that's what those continued education events do for you, is start to peel layers.
Oh, absolutely. And I was talking with Paige, I think yesterday while we were riding around, that some days I wish I could go back to being blissfully ignorant, because life is so much simpler.
Yeah.
But the more you learn, the more you understand you don't know.
That's right.
And I do know the guy that ran our shoeing school, Bob Ream. He'd been under horses for 60 years shoeing. He started at 15, and he was 75 when I went through his school. He said, as soon as you know it all, you better quit. You better hang up your apron because you're going to hurt a horse.
Yeah. My daughter is I have two daughters. One is 10, one is 7. But I tell them both. I said that I'm going to run out of body before I learn everything there is to run out of horse training. There's no way I'm going to make it by the end of my life, right? And I'll be honest with you, girls, you won't make it either. But maybe your kids or their kids' kids, maybe every time we just need to leave them people in a little bit better position than they are for us as a generation. And that's the blessing of being a teacher and an educator, is to say, yeah, we're going to leave the next generation a little bit better. So we just tip our hat to you and your program and leaving that next generation a little bit better. For thousands of years, we didn't have X-ray technology, right? It was all trial and error. And now with the modern sciences, farriers, there is so much to learn and so much to keep track of.
Oh, yes. And it grows by leaps and bounds. I like being part of the university because I get to help with some of those research projects. And I've done one study of my own that has not been published yet, but we won't waste a bunch of time on that because I get on my soapbox and I don't get off.
It's nerdy.
It is very nerdy.
I'm a nerd too, so we'll get into that a little bit later. I want to expand the screen here and welcome our next guest is Heather Boschman and Paige Poss. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. Heather, I'm going to throw the same question to you. Give us a little bit quickly about your background and what interests you and how you got into this backbreaking but very rewarding field of being a horse farrier.
Yeah, thanks for having us. I got into it probably in a really dumb way, but it worked out. I did not have any horse background. I'm a native Michigander. I grew up near Detroit, so we were like suburban. There's like no horses, and I was like the kid that was, cutting the pictures out of horses from the magazine, like sticking them on my wall and all that crap, So I was just obsessed with them, and started working at a therapeutic riding place when I was about 14 because that was the only way I could get, hands-on experience with horses. And I saw the farrier working there, and I was just like, well, that's what I want to do. Because I knew I wanted to work with animals and I wanted to work outside and I didn't want to sit in an office all day. And so, yeah, I just like went home and told my parents, like, I'm going to be a farrier. And they're like, a what? And so then I had to explain, like, this is a job, and like my entire extended family, no one had heard of this except for one uncle who at like our big family dinner was like, oh yeah, I had a friend that's a farrier. And I was like, oh cool, like this lends legitimacy to my idea here. And he was like, he was missing these 3 fingers because I horsed them off. I was like, don't tell grandma and grandpa that, like. But once I got them all convinced it was like a legit trade, we went ahead and started looking at like shoeing schools to go to. And I was actually homeschooled the whole way through. So my parents allowed me to pick some curriculum things that were going to be helpful going into that trade. So like we did small business accounting instead of like doing, the advanced algebra. So I feel like that was quite helpful. I know, it was awesome. And then, yeah, I went to shoeing school down in Kentucky, Kentucky Horse Shoeing School. And then when I got out of that, I went through their 9-month program, and I knew that was like not nearly enough knowledge and experience. Like, even though that was the longest program I could find, I was like, I'm starting from zero, right? So after that, I did an apprenticeship, and I got really lucky that I just, like, I didn't know anybody in the farrier world. The woman that was working as a secretary at the school happened to know the farrier that I ended up apprenticing with, and she was just like, yeah, he needs this, and like, you need someone to go with, you should just talk to him. And it worked out really, really well because he was kind of the one that really pushed certification for me and got me involved with the AFA and the WCB, which is like competitive farrier organization.
And forward now to now you've written a book, correct?
Yeah, that is true.
Tell us a little bit about your book.
Yeah, so it's about hoof care for horse owners, because we have so many clients that like really are trying to be educated about all things horse related. And then they would have some questions about feet that I was like this should be readily accessible information, but it's obviously not, because they don't know this information and they're trying to be informed. So that was the real purpose of writing the book, was just to give them a good resource for all the things the questions that we answer really regularly.
And you're going to give away one of those books in the comments below. So thank you for graciously donating that. And we'll come back because we have lots of questions and people are starting to pile on questions now too. So, but I want to hit on Paige. Paige, briefly, just give us a little bit of your background and a little bit about the organizations that you've started, resources for people to continue their education.
So I grew up, my granddad always handed me like I think a 20-year-old rasp and told me to trim my ponies. I mean, I didn't know he changed rasp. I mean, that's how naive I was. But as an adult, I had a horse, and not all farriers are created equal, and not all farriers get continuing ed. And he was taking a perfectly nice horse and making his feet go in different directions. So I was like, I'm just going to pull the shoes and go back to the pony days and just make them pretty for a little while till I find the next farrier. Well, what I found is I really, really enjoyed working on feet, and started doing that. And the more I didn't pursue school or anything, I was just working on my own horse. But the more I did it, and then I started kind of anything that stood still long enough, I would start trimming. And I had worked in research. I have a animal science degree from NC State, had worked, at different universities and things like that. And what happened is I wanted to understand the mechanics, and anatomy books are kind of as exciting as looking at a parts list for your TV. I mean, just because it's labeled doesn't mean you understand what it does. So what I found is I got hold of some cadaver feet, which is not how everybody likes to learn, but I got cadaver feet and started taking them apart because I wanted to understand the mechanics. I didn't care about the names. I wanted to know how it worked and how it affected my job. And then I started taking pictures, and I showed up at, one of the conventions one year and kind of showed everybody my pictures and goes, anybody interested? And that's how Anatomy of the Equine got started. It is sharing images, because not everybody could take apart feet. And I know it seems gruesome. And
Before I start looking through your website, is there, how gruesome are we?
But what owners need to understand is that it is such an honor to have specimens that I can photo document and share. And I lecture all around the country, and have gone over to England and Scotland a few times. And what I try to do, like I'm doing this weekend here at Dave's, is taking the feet apart so that people build this understanding of the 3D anatomy that will help them with their work. So it's really, I try to just enhance what everybody else needs to know or wants to know about the feet that they're working on. So that's my nerd fest.
Yeah, and what a great nerd to have, because as we're looking through your website here, everybody is watching this now. I'm just kind of pulling through your pages on coffin bones and hoof cracks and hoof distortions, and it's anatomy-of-the-equine.com. Make sure that you follow that or go to this website if you want to continue learning amazing information here. I want to.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that the books are made for the industry. They're made as a communication tool, so that the farriers who have this 20-page book don't have to draw in the dirt. They can actually show you a picture instead of
Absolutely
drawing with a stick.
Lives in my truck.
Yep.
Actually, and Tammy, while I got you right there, they would like. Can you put that website in the chat? Alyssa Finkler wants you to put that into the chat, and we'll post that website as well in our comments and in our descriptions when we're done. I want to get to some questions real quick here. People are asking questions, and I think there's some really, really good questions. Penny Britton asked this because I keep my horse barefoot. Is there a difference how the horses are trimmed for that versus shoes? And if so, are the farriers trained in both methods? Dave, I'll throw that to you first, and maybe you might want to pass it on, or maybe you'll take that one. Go ahead.
I can take my opinion on it. Everything I say, it's so much of this is personal opinion because we don't have hard scientific reasoning for it. But yes, all farriers should be trained to be able to trim a horse barefoot. The biggest difference for me when I'm trimming barefoot is I can leave or tend to leave a little bit more foot depending on the season. So when the ground is frozen and all of our paddocks have frozen nice and flat like they do every year, and they don't have these big moon craters in them, right? You want to leave a little bit of extra foot on your horse so that he's not sore. And then when we're applying a shoe, we trim it flat and level, but don't put any roll on it because the edges are going to be protected by the shoe. When you're leaving them barefoot, you just got to put a roll onto it. Otherwise, it's going to chip up and break pretty much no matter what the weather pattern is. I don't know if Heather has a different approach or Paige.
No, I totally agree with that.
But
I've gone back to only trimming again because I do so much educational work and leave, and I found that if I put something on a foot, it falls off the minute I leave town. So that stresses me out.
So
You
mentioned something here that I want to transition. It's a great segue. You said weather patterns, and since all three of you are at fault for screwing up everybody's feet in the world because you're a farrier, and that's what farriers do. Speak a little bit about seasons and moisture content in feet, and how sometimes your horse's angles are not off because your farrier screwed them up, but because there's so many different factors that determine what your horse's feet are going to do. I know we could make this a two-hour podcast, but briefly give people some ideas to say, hey, listen, it's not that they're not like your fingernails. Your fingernails do not grow. Horses' feet are not like human fingernails. They grow differently according to so many different factors.
So the big factors, I'll tackle environment. One thing I think everybody needs to understand is feet don't grow straight down. They grow down and forward, right? The foot is angled, so it has to grow down and at an angle. It can't just grow straight down unless you have a very upright, clubby type foot. That grows straight down. Environmentally, the foot functions like a kitchen sponge. When it's dry, it's nice and tight. And when we get a bunch of moisture, it expands. So I was running into a problem, probably 10 years ago. I'm sure Brant probably remembers the year where it would rain for 10 days. And then in 2 days, the ground would go rock hard, and it would be rock hard for the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then it would rain straight for 10 days. Brant's smiling. I know he knows what I'm talking about. So my feet were going expanding, contracting, expanding, contracting, expanding, contracting. I couldn't keep shoes on at all. I didn't understand what was going on. I had no knowledge of the environmental impact until I got talking with some people that are smarter than me. And they're like, yeah, during the dry season, you go down a shoe size. And when you get to the wet season, your clenches are stood up and your foot's expanded over top of it, and you go up a shoe size. I'm like, okay, so what do I do? He's like, you do that on a 2-week cycle right now. And I'm like, dude, tell my clients I got to be out there every 2 weeks and get me about another 23 hours a day.
Right.
Maybe we can make it happen. So the environment plays a huge factor. And if you're going to put anything topical on their feet, you have to do it daily religiously.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're exacerbating that expansion and contraction. You're almost better off just to leave it alone if you're not going to do a moisturizer daily.
I'm a pine tar guy. I love pine tar.
If it works for you.
If it works for me.
That's the biggest thing. I've got a couple of farms that is part of their riding regime every day. They paint the feet before the horse is ridden, and those feet hold together differently than everybody else that does it once a week.
That's what I tell my youngest daughter. And I don't know that people Maybe I don't see it as much anymore, but I'm sure people are doing this. Pony Club is big about this, but you need to clean your horse's feet out, right? Because there's a lot that can happen to your frogs too. I mean, if you just leave your horse out in a field and bacteria gets around that frog and that frog starts to peel away, you got a lot of negative problems there too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we see a lot of that, especially in the spring when it's really wet, like going back to that environment thing. Um, and maybe people haven't been able to pick all the manure out of the paddock over winter, and then it just gets trampled into the mud. The bacteria that causes thrush, which is like the biggest frog problem that we see, is found in manure. So unless you are like religiously picking up every pile of manure as it falls, like you're going to be exposed to it. So you need to be cleaning that out regularly. And, you know, bacteria has like an exponential growth. So it's not like, oh, it's going to grow just like a little bit every day. Once those bacteria start, they're like each bacteria is dividing into 2 bacteria, into 4, into 16, you know. So like nipping it in the bud as quick as you can is definitely really important. Aside from just the fact that your horse might also step on a nail or something out in the field, and you want to make sure that before you get on that horse that you've checked that there's no, you know, debris or things that could hurt them in their feet.
So what's interesting?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
When it comes to environment, I did work 18 years in Virginia, where it was more like Michigan, not as cold, but 4 seasons. And now I live in Tucson, Arizona. Environment matters. I mean, it is crazy how much easier it is to keep distortions and your angles correct in Tucson. It may be hard as anything to trim those feet, but once you trim them, they stay. Here, no.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Michigan has a lot of things that we have to fight against. Another thing I want to hit on is distortion, and then I'm going to come back to some shoeing. Sometimes your angles are not your farrier's. I should have called this. It's not your farrier's fault, but it's not your farrier's fault when you're talking about. I would call it high-low syndrome. That's what my farrier Ty Lee calls it. It's high-low syndrome. But with the breeding of modern horses today, we have horses with that are getting taller, and the necks aren't long enough to reach the ground. And I think that the equine dentistry has done a fantastic job of saying, hey, well, listen, we need to feed these horses on the ground unless you want to do a dental every 3 months. But the problem, right, lies in that the horse can't reach the ground. And when you have a horse with a neck that won't reach the ground, it runs into a whole other set of problems with feet. And can you talk a little bit about what you see there with those long-legged horses that aren't able to reach the ground and what they have to do and what that does to the feet?
From what I've seen, they're just like us, right? Most horses will take one canter lead better than another one, right? So they tend to be one-legged or one side dominant. So they wind up, those tall horses, having one leg that they put out in front and one that's back more frequently. And actually, there was a group in Holland that was breeding warm bloods that did a study trying to figure out whether or not their club feet were genetic. And so they started feeding all of their foals at chest level. So their head was down, but they didn't have to spread out. And bringing the food up that much got rid of all of their club feet. So they said it wasn't genetic, even though the genetics is it was a taller horse with a shorter neck. It's genetic. They just took away the environmental factor of having to eat on the ground.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, I see that a lot with warm bloods that come in there, and you've got angles that are funny, and when you shoe them and your foot is not in wear, that's something that people don't think about. And I don't know if I can get you to hit on that. It's like when you have a horse that's with an iron on the bottom of his feet are not going to wear according to the way that he stands when he eats or when he moves. And sometimes it's beneficial to have a horse not in shoes so that you are wearing away that foot so that it eases up ligaments, because they'll adjust their own hooves slightly to some extent, right, according to their body.
That sounds like a Paige question.
Well, of course they do. I think that, but you can get distortions with shoes and without shoes. And it is because if they have body issues, I think a lot of times we just don't give enough credit to what's going on in the body, not just the short neck with long legs. I mean, you have horses with SI problems and hock problems and things like that. And any of them that are camping under, they're going to crush their heels with or without a shoe.
I ran into a horse that's actually at my farm right now, and the horse is sickle hocked, and they kept shoes on the back. And because that horse doesn't wear any toe away, which he wants to wear toe away because he holds his hind feet behind himself, he wants to wear his toe off, but he can't because of the shoes. That was a horse that I tried to emphasize to the owners. Hey, he doesn't need shoes in the back. Shoes are not necessary. My dad used to say shoes are a necessary evil. Treat them like that, right? Sometimes they're necessary, sometimes they're not always necessarily good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I personally agree with that. I love a barefoot horse. And I've expanded my shoeing and chased my shoeing knowledge personally to be able to help the ones that need it that way. They need the protection, or they just need a little bit of something to help compensate for poor conformation or poor breeding or poor nutrition or poor environments or whatever it is.
Okay.
But those horses that you're talking about that would like to wear away their toe more, would like to wear away their heel more, sometimes that's a good time to come in with a shorter shoeing schedule as well. Especially if you have a horse that maybe for whatever environment they're in can't be barefoot for whatever reason, like you need a lot of traction because it's a jumper or whatever. Sometimes going to that shorter shoeing schedule can give you that opportunity to artificially wear away that toe every 4 weeks instead of every 6 weeks.
Pads can be beneficial. What are some of the negative sides of having pads when you start to look at padding your horse with their shoes? Because a lot of people like to put shoes and pads on. And I know pads are helpful, but there's also some negative sides to that too that you really need to be aware of.
Who wants to tackle that one?
All I can say is wedge pads are the only ones that seem to cause the most damage.
Wedge pads, yeah.
Or around here where it's really wet, you can see a lot of infection under a pad. It's basically like you didn't pick out your horse's feet for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's going to get funky, but there's a lot of things now that we can put under pads to prevent that from happening.
I guess I shouldn't have phrased my question as a negative. Our pads are beneficial, but I want to know your thoughts on the pads, because when you raise the foot, right, you have things that are going to happen. Pads create some sort of frog pressure. Walk us through the process of pads and what your thoughts on those are.
So for me, I'm not a huge fan of plastic pads, especially in this environment. Mostly for what Heather said, I seem to get a lot more bacterial infiltration underneath, and the plastic pads don't breathe. They don't ever really dry out underneath. So if I'm using a flat pad, it's a leather pad. And yes, you can pack it with so much. If you just put a leather pad on it as a thin leather pad, it's not going to engage the frog. It's not going to engage the sole. Really, all you're doing is adding artificial vertical depth. So if you've got a horse that doesn't have a lot of foot, you're giving it more foot underneath it. You're getting it off the ground a little bit further. You can use pads in the Arab world to enhance length, which enhances their motion. But I've used leather pads and a specific packing recently on some of my older geriatric horses, and it's seemed to, with the new packing, help create sole growth and better hoof growth for those horses. And I guess in the past, I've used leather pads on some horses that were crushing their heels so that they could crush my leather pad instead of their hoof capsule. I'd much rather them destroy a leather pad every cycle and give me a solid foot to work with.
Why would a horse crush his heels?
Because of the way he stands, the way he loads. Feet distort based off load. Now we get into physics.
Now you're gonna get that chalkboard out there, and we're gonna really.
The really simple explanation for load of a hoof capsule is think about a water balloon sitting on the table. If you push straight down on it, how does it distort, Grant?
Yeah, it expands and bubbles out.
Expands. Yep. If I push on the corner closest and to my right, it's not going to expand evenly. Right? It's
Yep.
going to distort that direction away from the pressure. Feet are the same way. It's a very simplistic overview of it.
Well, that's what we need. We need simple here. I'm simple-minded. I need simple answers. I'm going to let you off the hook on some of the technical questions. And there people have some questions about finding farriers. And Sharon asked, if you need to find a new farrier as perhaps yours retires, how do you find another good farrier that knows what they do, not just good reviews like on Facebook, but friends? It seems to be hard to find. Any tips and ideas on what we should be looking for from a farrier, and what we should be looking at to hire?
The first thing I would say is if you like your current farrier that's retiring, ask them who they know in the area that they would recommend, because they know everyone in the area and they know which ones are good and which ones shoe the way that they shoe. So, and then the American Farriers Association website has a Find a Farrier tab on it. So you can put in your location. You can put in your specific town, but it works better if you just put in your state, and then it'll show all the farriers in your state that are members, what their certification is, and then it'll show what town they're based out of. So you can see who's close to you, give them a call. It's a good starting point. You guys have any?
That's where I was going to go.
The one thing I recommend owners do also is sometimes if you go to, say, a show, or you're at a boarding barn or an event or clinic or something like that, a lot of times your eye will be drawn to the feet that look the best, and you can even just approach other owners, and sometimes that's a good way to assess what somebody's doing. I mean, when it doesn't look right, it doesn't look right.
And it's not going to look right to you when it's on your horse either. So
exactly. So, it's like you can ask what that farrier is, so you know not to call that one. But that's just something I recommend to owners. Is sometimes it's as easy as just kind of looking around.
Ann Sherman wants to know your thoughts on composite shoes.
Whose thoughts?
I don't know. Whoever wants to throw an answer out there. We don't have to get too in deep, but just your initial thoughts on composite shoes.
I don't use them.
Depends on the type of composite and then what footing you're planning that horse to go onto. So like I know some of the composites that are basically just more or less a rubber shoe, a lot of them cannot be shaped to your horse's foot. So that can be a big detriment because you're stuck with the shape that shoe comes. Whereas like a traditional shoe, you can shape to your horse's individual foot. But there are a few composite shoes that you can actually shape to a hoof capsule. So
I've used quite a few composites, and I like them because they do kind of wear a little bit more like a hoof and stuff. And to get around the not shaping, I just grind it down and kind of reshape them that way. A lot of times we're gluing them on typically, or just a couple of nails. And
yeah, for gluing, you've got a lot more options.
But I also work with a lot of geriatrics that it's like, they're not moving very fast anyway. I just need them to be more comfortable in their feet. So it's like living in boots.
Mary Pisco asked us a question. She said that her horse doesn't grow heel. We hit on this for just a second. So he has to have shoes. I wonders if pads would help. How do you approach a horse, or how should a horse owner be looking for how should they be talking to their farrier about their horse who doesn't grow heel?
Ask questions. That's the biggest thing, because there's so many scenarios for that as to what it could be. It could be conformational for the horse. It could be that he's sore someplace up high and he's loading his feet differently. There's not a catch-all answer to that question. That's a hard one. But the biggest thing I would say is open a line of communication with your farrier and see if they're open to the idea. Maybe try a leather pad for a couple of cycles and see whether or not it's smashing the pad.
And educate yourself, right? All the resources that you guys have with your websites and things. I really we push that website back up there real quick, the anatomyoftheequine.com. The more that you educate yourself there, the more that you could ask the right questions, right? Because if it is a conformation problem, there's nothing much that you can do, right?
But don't give your farrier advice.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's Dr. Google doesn't always work.
Yeah. But if you understand your problem, right, and you educate yourself to what your problem is, then there becomes less blaming. It's not your farrier's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. And I think we've all probably received packets that somebody had printed off of Google or whatever.
Yep.
And they're like, here, do this to my horse. Well, no, that's a brilliant idea. It won't work on your horse because of this.
Right.
Do you think
And
there's
it might simply be that what they're asking for doesn't align with the job they want the horse to have. Right? If you've got a ranch rodeo horse and you tell me that you want hospital plates, which is a full aluminum plate over the entire part of its foot, you're going to be sitting on the ground, Brant, pretty quick because your horse has no traction to do the ranch rodeo stuff.
Exactly.
So it's got to be the task.
I want to get through some of these questions real quick, and then we'll let you guys go. A few people ask, is there a shortage of farriers? Do you think there is a shortage of farriers out there?
There's a shortage of qualified people.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily mean simply by the examination process. I just mean there's a shortage of people doing really good quality work.
And with that said, for somebody that wants to get into this industry, there was a question in here. I'm trying to find it right now. They asked, what can a person who gets in at an entry level, what does a career like that pay generally for? There it is, right there. For how much can a
That's it exactly. I don't work as hard as I used to.
Don't do it for the money. You have to love this career. That's my advice to everybody.
Yeah, what that actual dollar figure is going to look at, like, really, really depends on how many horses you shoe, how specialized you want to be. Like, there's a lot of variation, and for some people, like, having the ability to get off work every day in time to pick up their kids is way more important than making that extra money from those 2 sets they would have done while their kid was sitting at school, so sometimes the flexibility is worth more.
Well, and that's actually the biggest point I try to make to people when I'm mentoring them is that you're going to create your own business model. And there are some people who do all the therapeutic work and they fly all over the world and they make a lot of money, and I don't want their job. And then so you're going to tailor it. If you become proficient and you are committed and you show up and you do a good job and you communicate with your owners, you're pretty much guaranteed to have a decent business. And then where you tailor it is up to you.
If somebody wants to get involved with the Michigan State program, how do they get involved with your program?
Go to the website. It's the simplest way. There's a pretty simple application to fill out. And right now we're running 2 courses a year, either 12 weeks or 24 weeks. And come on.
Ooh, can I throw a trick question at you? Here's a good trick question. Do hoof supplements work? Oh.
Which one?
Yeah, exactly.
In which
So, Brant, I can tell we haven't even touched on, like, we have all these notes and this information. We haven't even hardly touched on a quarter of what we have. So I think we're definitely going to need to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Dave and Paige and Heather and Martha, can we do something again maybe in the fall and answer some more of these questions? And if Martha and Dave and Paige and Heather, if you have time to even go on to the Michigan Equine Network Facebook page. And then I know Brant, I can't see the questions myself right now, but I know Brant's looking through those, and maybe you can help us answer those questions because y'all are so full of great information.
Yeah. And then
I think we that.
And I kept leading you down rabbit holes there. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm a hoof nerd, and I forget that sometimes that that I probably just need to go hang out with you guys for a little bit and ask those questions there.
No,
so.
those are absolutely.
You're welcome to come to Tucson.
Ooh, I'll take you up on that,
It's
especially
time
in
near that.
January. But,
Oh, absolutely.
But we don't want to lose you in Michigan, Brent. So Dave did give some ideas. So we have the website that you all gave. We have the American Farriers Association, tons of great info. And Martha did mention that each state or nearly every state has a local chapter also where you can find a support group. And so everyone actually tonight pretty much said, when you get into this, you need a mentor, you need support, you need somebody to talk to. And so that's really important. And then Dave gave me some other podcasts, because if you're on here with us tonight, you probably listen to other podcasts. And so Dave mentioned the Farrier Focus, the Lockdown Farrier podcast, and the Mullins Farrier as being some of the top 3 that he enjoys. If you're out there and you also listen to some podcasts, jot those in the comment for us so we can find some other resources too.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. Don't forget, we gotta give away our book. Let's give away our hoof book. My right mouse here, figure out where I'm at. There we go. All right, it's time to give away the hoof book, and Heather has generously donated that. We are going to put everybody who asked a question. So if you want to pop a question into the comments real quick, I'll put you into this little random picker, and you guys can get your free copy. Do you already have this book, Tammy? Are you going to mail it out, or are we getting it directly from Heather?
Yeah, we are getting an autographed copy from Heather. I am getting a copy for my daughter and myself too. This just looks like a phenomenal book. She was telling us earlier she came out with this book in 2020. That was one of her projects, and it's highly recommended as a great tool for all horse owners.
All right. Looks like comments are starting to flow in here. Everybody. All right, let's give this thing away. Give this thing a big old spin. Oh, while this is picking, Heather, how do they find your book? Amazon website?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's on Big D's website, and there's a number of farrier suppliers that stock it as well, but that probably won't show up as easily.
All right, there's our winner, Matt Brown. It randomly gave, he just commented hello in the comments and it picked him. So Matt Brown, if you're with us right now, 7:38, he might still be with us. You have won the free copy of Heather's book.
Excellent. And Brent, I do have 3 more prizes here if we want to still do them. I know we already zipped by 8 o'clock, but I don't think for prizes people would mind, do you?
No, they'll stick around for giveaways. Maybe.
So my next prize I have from Tom's Western Store, one of our sponsors. Let's get this in front of the camera. So everyone will recognize this Misty and Stormy set. I think my camera's a little bit off tonight. But this is a book and horse model set. And then all the kids will know this. These are, and I'm sure your daughters know about these, the little mini winnies. So there's a unicorn surprise in here.
If they didn't, they do now. Great job.
You're welcome.
Guess we'll be going to Tom's Western Store to buy after this. All right, Matt Brown's here. Hey, congratulations, Matt. He's going to win that. How does Matt get his prize? Email you? Are you going to email him?
Yeah. Email me at tammy@michiganequinenetwork.com. I just need your name, address, and phone number, and we'll get that sent out to you, as well as our other awesome prizes that are here.
All right. Give away another prize.
Our audience base just went down to the youth now that we have some youth prizes. But like you said earlier, Brant, when our students, our youth are learning about the hoof, that's such an important part of the horse. And if they're learning it at a younger age, just think how much farther they'll be ahead.
Here's our winner for the prize for the Misty package. It's I'm going to say it's Lisa Finkler. Congratulations,
Excellent.
Elisa.
Thank you. Congratulations, Elisa. And tonight I also have some reins. These are custom made by Ron Silverman. Ron has been in the business for 40 years. These are 7-footers, beautiful show. Well, they can be show reins or any day reins. These are absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Ron and Patty, for your sponsorship tonight.
All right. And our winner.
And Ron does custom make many other pieces, leather pieces as well. And I know the holidays are coming up. So if you are in need of a custom belt or any special gifts, give Ron a call. And do look on our Facebook page. I do have the sponsors information on there too.
Oh, all right. Melissa Marie won the package. Can you see that, Tammy? Can you see the comment?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Congratulations, Melissa.
All right, Melissa, you won the reins.
And I have one more, Brant.
One more.
So
Give it in
this
there.
is
If you're not in the comments, just post something in the comments, and this automatic picker here will just pick your name if you're going to be the winner.
So we went along with a theme for like a group of items. Many of us have farms, coaches, leaders, trainers. So we do multiple gifts at different times or even at fairs. So these are little sample treats from Horse Stimple Horse Treats. They're out of Kentucky. They're near you, Martha, down near Lexington. I worked with them down at Road to the Horse. And these are 8 grains, a little bit of molasses, and then there's a pill pocket inside too, if you do need to medicate. So there's a dozen of those to give out.
Did you say medicate?
Yeah. Well, basic medications.
Sure. No, I get it.
For the horses.
All right. Let's give it a whirl and see who gets picked here. Krista Couturier. Hey, Krista.
Excellent.
Thanks for all the great information. Thank you for listening with us here. And because you were listening, you're going to get that package. Just that email at the bottom of the screen, Tammy at equinenetwork.com. And all you do is shoot her a quick email and with your address, and she'll send that off to you.
Excellent. Congratulations, everybody. And thank you to our sponsors, too, for giving out awesome gifts to our horse enthusiasts.
And thank you to our board. Are they still with us? Let's see if they're still with us. Oh, yeah, there they are. They're still here. So,
we're still here.
Yeah. So, Heather, Paige, Dave, thank you guys so much for joining us and sharing with us some of your information and helping us to understand our horses a little bit better. Because the more that we understand our horses, the better steward we can be for them. And so, again, thank you for all the years that you guys have put in, been over all the years of sweating and straining and getting kicked. And you really should, farriers have earned the right to have Farrier's Week because you guys are definitely underappreciated.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
That's right. You learn more about that's right. Learn more about their about the school, about Michigan State University's Farrier program. You can go to their website. Also, don't forget about let's look at our websites here. The American Farrier Association. The more you want to learn. I was just scrolling through here and I just typed in find a farrier for people that were looking for. Oop, I'm on the wrong side again. Find a farrier, and I just typed in you had to be a certified journeyman farrier, you had to be from Michigan, and boom, there you go. You can find all kinds of qualified farriers for those of you that were looking. So make sure you guys go to the American Farriers website. Also, don't forget to check out our friends Anatomy of the equine.com page's website. You guys can educate yourself, but I agree, don't tell your farrier what to do. But the more you educate yourself, the more that you'll be able to recognize what's happening inside your horse's feet. And if you go to Facebook, MSU Farrier School, you can reach out to them. And also, if you want to learn more and you're an education junkie like I am, you can go to horsecourses.com and take a course on a number of different modalities there, from everything from tendons and ligaments to just basic information about the equine hoof and what it looks like. So, again, those are great resources for you guys to learn more about. Tammy, we're done. We did it again.
It was an excellent show. Thank you, everyone, for all the information. And it sure helps to have it all compact into one show. And also we'll get that information on our Facebook, too, so you can check it out.
And
thank you, everybody.
And I want to say a special thank you to you, Tammy, because you make this easy for me. You get all the guests lined up. I know all the technical stuff and the blabbering comes from my end, but really, thank you so much for putting all this together, and you do a great job. And for all of you guys out there that want to support this, we've just started to build a Patreon page. If you'd like to support the website, it's $7 a month. Only if you want to support it. If not, we'll just keep giving it away. That's just what we do. We just keep giving it away free. But if you do want to support the podcast, Patreon/Michigan Equine Network. I'll put a link of that on the Facebook page a little bit later. But again, if you feel like some of this information is worth something and you want to give, if you don't want to give, we'll just give it to you anyway. That's why I'll probably never be rich in this industry, isn't it? So, all right, Tammy, any last words for the night?
We just want to say thank you to everyone. We are going to take the month of August off from a podcast so we can put together some new elements for the show, like Brant is talking about tonight, and get our speaker lineup set for next year. And we do want to do another Farrier show, so Dave will have to look at a good month for you all. We didn't talk about it, but you all do have in January that really fantastic Farriers clinic. That is a really great time to come down and to learn as a horse owner, as a farrier, to compete. So definitely get in touch with Dave if you're interested about that. But we'll be back in September.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. I am going to say my last thank you of the night goes to my friends at One Tough Stall Mats. If you guys like stall mats, listen, the number one thing I can't stand the most is cleaning the stalls when my stall mats are uneven. I break pitchforks, and then when you break pitchforks, you lose tempers, and that's just not good. My friend Andy Burrell, he is originally from Brighton, Michigan. He lives in Oklahoma now. He has designed a 12 by 12 or a 12 by 14 stall mat that is one piece. He shipped me one the other day. I've been using it. I love it. And you know what? You'd think that it's 12 by 12, and you think it would be heavy. It's not super heavy. It only weighs 88 pounds. Came on a UPS driver's truck, and I pulled it off myself and threw it on there. But not everybody's a 6'4" meathead like me either, but it isn't really light. So make sure you guys check them out, and we'll leave you with them. So that's One Tough Stall Mats. Tammy, thanks again, and we'll see you in a couple months.
Thanks, guys.
I did say one more thing. I'm sorry. Comment on what you want to see next. We've been picking random things that interest us. If there's something that you want to know about, leave it in the comments. Message us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I think that's how we are. I'm trying to get TikTok going, but I don't know. You have to have 1,000 likes on TikTok or something to get it alive. So I don't doubt we'll go on to the TikTok thing. But
maybe by September we can do that.
Yeah, there you go. So, all right. We'll see you in a couple months. Thanks, everybody, for joining us tonight.